Hello everyone and welcome to another What I Think review, and today I have something very special to show you all, courtesy of the man Al Jawar himself. I have the new B&M range for 2021. Now, some things that people will obviously firstly be aware of when they see these is how fewer sets there are here compared to the previous years. But there is a very good reason for that. In short, the reason is a knock-on effect of COVID. Essentially what they're doing is, rather than releasing all of the sets for this year in one go, they are releasing some now, and some will be released also later in the year. And personally, I think that's a bit of a better way of doing things going forward, as I would much rather have less figures sooner and more often than more figures once at a time and we get less information about them. Either way though, we are going to have a two-part review for this. Part one is going to be looking at the 3-packs, which we'll come back to in a moment, and then part two is going to be looking at the Dalek packs. So we're going to jump straight in with part one, looking at the Sensorites and the Keys of Marinus sets. So first up we have the Sensorite Set. It looks very nice in the box. It's nice that we're also now getting the backdrops on these particular sets as well, ones that are more sort of episode themed. I can understand why it might not happen on some of the more sort of random triple packs, but ones that have more of a distinct episode to them, it's nice that the backdrop is now included in these, because again, as I've said before, it's nice that you know, people have got things that they can use for doing figure animations and things. So we've obviously got a Sensorite, we've got the First Doctor, and then we've got a Sensorite Leader. If I turn around the back of the box, we have, Sensorite Elder, I should have said, the First Doctor and the normal Sensorite, and obviously a little bit of blurb on the back here about the episode itself. But let's get into the box and have a look at the figures. So just while I've got the box open, a quick look at the insert that comes with these, very nicely detailed. I can't see any little Easter eggs on this, as there have been on some of the other ones, but either way, it's a very nice piece of detailing, and it's nice to have it on the backdrop of the set just to make the figures stand out a bit more and sort of be a bit more themed to the set itself. So here we have the Sensorites out of the package. On the left we have the Sensorite Elder, we have the First Doctor in the middle, and then we have a normal Sensorite on the right hand side. So starting with the First Doctor. First Doctor is just really your basic repaint, but it's a nice, interesting new variant, or at least I should say, I think it's more a variant of a variant, because it's very akin to the Web Planet version that we got in the 13 Doctors figure set a while back. But again, you know, I like this variant because there is some debate about the colours of his clothes in some episodes due to, you know, a lack of colour on-set photos. And because it's in black and white, I personally think you can allow a degree of artistic license with these things. So it's nice to have this sort of extra variant, because this does look like something that he would have worn. The coat, the jacket is a more sort of dark brown. The tie is a dark blue rather than black. And then obviously the trousers are the sort of brownish, rust brown cross patch pattern on them. And again, I think it looks really nice. It's definitely something that I could have seen the Doctor wearing at some point. You know, whether or not it is screen accurate or not is neither here nor there to me, because, as I said, I think because it's black and white, you can take a degree of artistic license and it doesn't spoil it. And I certainly think this is something that the First Doctor would have worn at some point, you know. But obviously now we move on to looking at the Sensorite. So on the left we have the Sensorite Elder, and then on the right we have just a normal Sensorite with the little accessory. There are two accessories, but I've only taken one out because they are both the same. So overall, the body of this, the body, arms, waist and thighs are actually all from the same base figure design as the Axon figure, which itself was also used, or might have been the first version of it, I think, for the Sharaz Jek body. And I believe it's also the one that's being used on the Vord in the next set we're going to look at. So it's nice to see that this reuse of parts is working so well, because I really do think this is a very good multi-purpose body. But obviously there are some small differences, you know, design differences. Obviously the paint application is slightly different. We've got the wire sort of painted on for the communicator thing, which is stuck on. We've got the ridges the arms of this one. There's a bit of weathering on the feet, which are new, which we'll come back to in a second. And then there's also some tunic detailing on the back. Obviously, new parts wise, obviously there are the heads. There are this new communicator piece for the body. I don't know if that is actually slotted into a hole or if that's just stuck on. If it is slotted into a hole, then it is interesting that it means that this body torso has been slightly modified as well, but obviously I don't want to take it off to find out. But in the course of anyone doing customs or things like that, if there is a hole underneath that, it does mean that this has been modified slightly, which is interesting to note. Obviously the heads are completely new as well. You've got a standard one here, and then you've got the one with the slightly sort of more grey, because he's the elder. And then the elder's also got this piece of cross plastic sort of bandolier sort of thing on him, which is again just put over the top. And you know, that's pretty much all there is to them, really. There's not a whole lot to say about them, but I don't mean that in a negative way. You know, it's fantastic that we're getting new figures, and I think, you know, obviously there's not lots of accessories, there's not lots of necessarily playability and things like that for these, but the whole point, these are marketed as collector's figure sets, and I know that there's obviously some debate that some people will go, well, it's collectors, that means they're not toys, or people will go, well, they're figures, they're toys. I mean, it says on the box, collector figure set, collectors, but then it says 5+. So, personally, I would say it's both. They can be played with as toys, but they can be made for collectors. But in a way, that's why there's not a lot to say about them, because in that sense, they've got the best of both worlds. If you just want to collect them as figures, they're nice and they're simple. There's not loads of bits that can come off and you know, and things like that. You know, you might end up losing if you want them on display. But if you want to buy them for a kid who's maybe into classic Doctor Who and they want to play with them, then they've got lots of nice articulation. You know, obviously, we've got the elbows, biceps, knees, all the standard articulation. The nice one about these ones as well is that they've got the ball joint for the arm, so the arm's got a bit more flexibility to it. You know, they really sort of are nice, simple figures, but it's for that reason I really can't praise them enough, because it's, as I said, it puts me in a bit of a quandary, because I can't say much about them. There's not a lot to say about them, but that's because the little there is to say is all positive. You know, that's really what I mean to say in that sense. You know, they really are very nice figures. I certainly think they're going to be ones that are going to be very popular among the fans. But now let's get on to looking at the Vord set. So here we have the Keys of Marinus set. Again, nice to see the backdrop in there, and obviously for this we've got Ian Chesterton and we have got the two Vord. I do have to say, the inclusion of Ian in this set does make me think that perhaps we could be getting, again, I just want to make it clear, I'm speculating here, but it does make me wonder if we are going to be getting Susan and Barbara in future sets similar to this. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But again, very nicely displayed in the box. If we turn it around, obviously we've got a bit of information about the episode, and then obviously we've got Ian and then Vord, just 1 and 2 they are. But obviously let's get into it and have a look at these ones as well. So here we have the backdrop for the Marinus set. Again, I can't see any little Easter eggs or anything like that, but it's a very nicely designed piece. I really do like the effort they're going to get these backdrops in. You know, it's nice to see this sort of little extra thing in there, because it does make all the difference, I think, to a display. You know, for such a small little thing, it does make the biggest difference. So it's very nice to see that now happening in the triple packs as well. So here we have Ian and the Vord, or maybe that should be Ian Chesterton and the Blackheads. A little niche music reference there for my fellow music fans. Anyway, that was a really terrible joke. Anyway, here we have the Vord and Ian. The Vord themselves, very, very nicely detailed. Obviously, as I said, overall it is using the same body as the Axon and the Sensorites, obviously just the plain black body, but obviously new parts on this. We've got the new parts are the sort of bandolier section around the middle. Obviously the feet, the hands are also new, because the hands on them are actually slightly webbed, which is a nice little feature. Obviously they've also got their own little knife. Again, very flexible plastic, nice to see that, but not the easiest thing to get in and out of their hands.
if you're trying to slot it in that way. If you're going to put them in display, I would recommend slotting them in from the bottom, and then you can just pull them through. Certainly very easy. But the most interesting thing I find about these Vord are that we actually have two different head sculpts, because I assumed that obviously because they've got the different sigils on top of their heads, I assumed that these were just, you know, peg pieces that were slotted in, but these are actually part of all the same mold. So it means that there's a separate head for this one and a separate head for that one. So it's nice to see that they've gone to that level of detail for it. And also other nice little, very small details, but nice details, is we've got the little sort of signalling of, you've got the silver part here, you've got the silver parts on the belt there, and again, it's the little details like that that are really sort of making it stand out very well and look the part. You know, they really do look very good. You know, I can't. Again, I haven't got a lot to say about them, but that's mainly because everything I've got to say is good. You know, I really don't have anything negative to say about these, which is wonderful, don't get me wrong. Ian himself is a very nice looking figure. This is obviously once again a reuse of the Saxon Master body, but again, it's a great reuse for it. I think it's fantastic to see them getting so much use out of a sculpt, you know, and it's a perfect sort of testament, I think, as well to it, you know, unless you really look at it, you probably wouldn't notice that it's the same sculpt. You know, it's a very simple, very simple, you know, way of doing it that works so well, because it's so easy to disguise a body, you know, a custom figure, not a custom figure, a proper body, to look like a different official one. You know, and I think that's what was making me think custom figures just then, because it's a perfect example of the things that custom figure creators do. But it's, you know, it's great to see that it is something that translates into actual figure production as well. Obviously, you want to get a quick close-up on his head to have a look at that too. So here's a close-up on the head sculpt of Ian. I think it's a very good likeness. They've really sort of pulled out all the stops on this one, and it's certainly one that I think is going to be reused for many custom figure fans. I'm very tempted myself to go and either get a couple more or make some casts up that I can reuse myself, because there's quite a few Ian figures I can think of that this opens up the potential for many fans to want to be able to do. And if this is, you know, as I said at the start, this is just me speculating, but if this is an indication that we could get Susan and Barbara in future, if this is the work that's gone into Ian, then I am definitely looking forward to the work that's gone into seeing the work that would have gone into a Susan or a Barbara figurehead. So that brings to a close another What I Think review. Be sure to check in and tune in for part 2, where I'm going to be looking at the new Dalek sets, and also answering a question that some people have been raising about these. But for now, as always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot, and be sure to description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation, and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.